Welcome to part 8. At last, we're here. That last one was a bit of a marathon. Now come on then, be honest, how many of you actually watched the whole of the last episode at part 7? You're going to have to skip it surely. I mean, it's nearly 2 hours long. I mean, that's crazy. I did try to keep it lower, but with the edits and all the stop starts from it, it just got a little bit longer. So I'm not going to ramble on this one. I'm going to go straight in at it. First job is to look at what I've done with the external drive on the last video and apply this kind of shading technique to the internal drive. Basically, because it's the same kind of metal, same kind of look, and I'll mirror what I've done here to here. Once I've done that, then I'll work my way around the rest of the motherboard. I've got this ribbon cable to do, got the RF bit there. I think that's the RF thing, isn't it, or something? It's not the RF. Is that some? I don't know what it's for. There, I do know, but I can't remember because my brain's fried. It's been a long day, and it has been a long day. Do that, and I'm going to apply a little bit more onto here because this was very basic. Once I've done all that, then I'm going to be moving on to the front panel and this detachable fascia bit that holds the 256K memory expansion. Once I've done all that, I'm going to do another little recce round to see what things I've left, and I think that's it. Yes. So let's get going. Right, first job, select this up. I've already selected it, so hey, getting ahead of myself there. And let's get the brush going, and we'll select the colour I want, which will be this nice blue here. Where was it? It was this one here, wasn't it? I quite like this one last time. It's a bit of a nice grey colour there, just to give it a nice subtle bit of texture, nothing too heavy, just to give it that. There we go, look at that, just nice and gentle. I'm hardly touching the tablet, it's just enough to give you that little bit of texture. And I'm going to come over it again like that, and then I'll hit the erase, because I'm actually going to put a highlight on this section in a minute, so because it's catching a bit of light, I want it to catch a little bit of light over here, so I'm going to put a little bit on there and then erase it, picking up that little bit of texture in which I like. So that's that, and let's go to the highlight layer. Let's pick up I want a nice bluey whitish sort of shade. I'm looking at the thing there. Oh, there you go. Kind of like a bit like that, a little bit more blue, I think. Just yeah, that'll do. I mean, really, when these are printed out, you're not really going to see the colours like I do. It'll just be like one block of colour with a, you see the gradient. So let's give that a little bit of a highlight on there. You can just see that coming up now. If I zoom out, you see it. It's just getting lighter and lighter and lighter. Now what I'll do is I will go back over that. I'll just erase it. I mean, sometimes you can build it up and build it up and build it up, and it doesn't look quite what you expect. You're kind of trying to, and it might be down to you're not getting light enough. But I'm going to switch to time-lapse for the rest of this bit, because I don't want this one to be a 2-hour job, because that's just way too long. So now I've said that, it probably will. No, can't have it. So I'll catch you in a few when I've shaded this bit up. See you on the other side, as I've said before. Okay, right, that's looking all right. I'm just tidying up a few of these little lines now, and I'm going to just put a little bit of highlighting along these edges here. This just so it looks like it's been, because I think these are actually looking at the photos, these like cut out these little areas. It's like with the wires and that going up below where you can access the drive there. So just going to tidy up this little line here, just make that a little bit more curved, bring that around, and that's it, like a little cross there for the little Phillips head screw, like that. Well, it's not a lot of detail, but I just saw that and I thought that's a little bit out for me. There we go, and I'll put that, fill that in there as well. I've got that one there. I'll just tidy that bit there up as well. So it's looking pretty good. So let's highlight these areas here. I've done a little bit on there. I'm gonna add a little bit more onto that one because I want it to be a little bit lighter. So I must go a little bit of white on there. Just a little. That's a little bit too much. Go to 60%. That'll do. Yeah, that's it. Just so there's a little bit of a highlight on there. Nothing too much there. And the same on this little bit here. And there we go. That's it. So that's now looking all right. Let's put a little bit of shading on these screws. Which it's not a lot on there really, but I just want to just make them look like they're actually, you know, sort of shiny-ish. But I mean, the beauty of doing it like this is when you zoom out, it looks kind of sort of like it's shiny. He says it's a bodge really, isn't it? I mean, it's all bodge. It's not, well, I say a bodge, it's just fooling the eye into thinking there's something going on when there isn't. You know, you go like that. And then what I'll do is I'll do a little highlight in this bit. So the way to do that is just to erase. Take your brush down and then erase this edge I've just put in. There you go. See, so do that. And then that will kind of sort of make that little bit more shiny. Same with this one here. Just bring that edge there and that edge there. Maybe there. Yeah, there we go. So now put a little bit of shadow on. I'll just do these ones. Let's go back up there. Might as well put the carry on doing what I was doing before. Looks like there. There we go. And then I don't. That's like a rivet or something. What have I done now? What's that? Oh, that's interesting. Don't know what that is. That looks like a rivet. It's just be a screw. Well, let's make it a screw. Sure, it's probably wrong, but let's make it a screw. As the other ones are all. Yeah, let's do that. Is that on there? That's been added after. Strange. Alright, let's shade that one up. Okay. And let's do my brush. There's that one there. So that's that. A lot of this is just tidy ups really, because I'm on the last little bit, and I'm just trying to tidy up all the bits as I see them, so that when I come back at the end, I'm not going through and sort of going over the same old ground again. So that's not bad. I'm happy with them. I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow on here. Let's go for the dark blue. That kind of works. Let's put this one on and go down there. 30% should be alright. Yeah, that's it. That's not bad. I'll bring that there. Just a little bit of local shadow just to help it along, and the same on here. Just a little bit of local shadow just to help it in there. So it's masking a little bit of that light, and I'll do another little bit here, just in here. I'll put a little bit of black, just a little bit of black in there. That's it. And what I will do is this bit here, I'm going to just. Have you noticed I've not actually selected anything because I'm going through and just doing areas which just need sort of bulk shading and shadow. So I'm not bothering to select or deselect anything because I'm only doing like little edits. There we go. Let's put a little bit of texture on there. A little bit of texture on there. I've just gone over the line there. That's all right. That's fine. That'll come off when I do the thing. There you go. A little bit of texture there. Okay. Just a couple of little marks. A little bit of grubbiness there. That's that. I'll do the same here. A little bit of grubbiness. There we go. Okay. Right. So that's not looking too bad. Right. Next bit is I'm going to do all this stuff along the inside of the case. So while I'm on this side, I'll do the ribbon cable after doing that. Right, so first thing I've got to do is take all this down, and then I'll do the edge connector afterwards. So I should be back in a few minutes, or maybe probably about a minute, I'd say, and I'll carry on after. Right, so I've just done that. I put a few little highlights just around the edge in here, which will just bring this up a little bit. So just there's a bit of interest. I mean, really, you won't really see a lot, but when you see the cases, when you see the case, you know, in shadow, you do pick up a slight variation where it's not quite flat, so it picks up a little bit of light. And although it's not that obvious, it really helps kind of create the illusion of depth and detail, which you don't, you know, necessarily immediately see, but it's still there. So I'm going to just put that in there, and what might be an idea is if I actually go over that with the eraser, it should bring it up a little bit more. So let's take the opacity up a little bit, and then I can just erase that little edge there, and just to give you that, just give it just a little bit of a highlight, but nothing too much. I'll do the top as well, because again, it just adds a little bit of detail to reinforce the fact that it's a cut into the case, or the moulding from the case. I think when they moulded these things, they tend to have when you look at a lot of the edges, they're not quite flush. I think I said this before in an earlier video, when you look at anything that's moulded in plastic, you do tend to find that edges don't sort of sit flush, or when there's a flat area, it's not quite flat. Sometimes you get a tiny little bit of sort of a bump sometimes near the ends, and you know, it's just these little details I like to put in. I mean, I'm not going to town on it, because, you know, the style of the art, it doesn't really lend itself to going into too much detail, but it's just there just to give that little bit of extra depth. And I'll do the same on here, so I'll just bring that across. I'm going to take the opacity up on that so that it takes more off. That's it. And then, hang on, don't push the Windows key. There we go. Just push that like that, and then it just adds that little lip on that little highlight on the lip there, and it just goes across, and then it'll just fade down again as it gets into shadow. There we go. There we go. It's just enough there, and again, you know, it's just enough to give you that little edge there. I'm going to put a little bit on here, just a little touch on that bit. There we go, and that just does that bit there. And this might as well do this bit while I'm at it. The same thing. What you also find is that these have they have like a slight shadow underneath the highlight bits. It's like it's raised very slightly, and you get that little bit of shadow underneath on the lower edges. So I'll do that as well. There we go. I'll just use that colour there. I'm going to switch to this brush because it's a rougher brush, and I can just get just a little bit on there. So there we go. See, it's just a little bit there. And I don't even have to do a lot. It's just there, just to show you that it's frozen. Now it just pushes that out a bit and sinks that back in. This bit here, I think these are like dip switches, I believe. Can't see the other photo. I think I've got a picture from the side somewhere, but I believe there's dip switches, but you won't really see a lot of that, so I might as well just shade it down. I'm going to select the area for this, and let's shade that down. That's it. Really, I should have just left it dark, really. Seems a bit weird, but never mind. Yeah, that's fine. I'll go in with this brush just to raise a few little ends off, just to have a little bit of depth in there, so it's like it's picking up something, but we're not really quite sure what. So there's a little bit of highlighting, but not a lot. Yeah, that looks alright, and maybe a little bit more just in these lower ones. Just that edge. A bit like that, a little bit like that. I'm doing like a little flicky motion with the pen, just so it kind of picks it up, but then it fades off. Yeah, so from a distance it's like dip switches, and yeah. So that area is not looking too bad now. I can't remember what colour these are, because some of them are like more of an orangey colour and some of them are more yellowy. So I've left them like a yellowy shade now. I might go back and add a bit of orange to these to see what they look like when I look at the reference photos. But for now, I think that'll do. And right, what's next? Let's go on to this internal bit here. That's like a little bit of it's like a kind of this sort of stuff. So, but you can't really see a lot of it. So I think what I should do is if I just take the shading down on that, and just sort of give it a bit of texture, and then it won't stand out so much. Like I said on the last video, when you get areas of colour, even if you put just a little bit of shading on it, it's enough just to bring it into the drawing. So that's far too heavy, and even then I can then go over and add the highlights afterwards. So I've done that, and then I can go through and erase it with this brush on the end, and that'll be the highlighted area. Just take it up a little bit. There we go. So just to give you something to look at when your eyes glance there. It doesn't really stand out like it's like a sore thumb. It's I mean, I can't really see a lot of detail. I mean, I don't know why I drew that really, because I mean really it's I think when I was looking at the reference photos, you could see that bit on, and I turned my head around. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. So I put it in, but really I could have just got away with not having that in there at all. But it's too late now, but it's already in there. You make these decisions when you're drawing stuff, and it's just there to kind of back up this bit here. I mean, if I'd left that empty, I could have had this PCB underneath showing all the way through there, but it's done now, so I won't mess around too much. What I will do, these bits here, let's take the still on this one, let's take that down, and then I can highlight. Let's go for a nice that'll do. Put a few little highlights on just to make it stand out. So a lot of these things, they're just to catch your eye, but not necessarily give you a lot of detail. It's when you're zoomed out, you see it, but you don't see it in detail, if that makes any sense. I mean, when you look at some art, a lot of it is what the eye doesn't see, and the brain fills in the gaps. And you'd be surprised what you can kind of get away with when you do stuff where it's not necessarily just going through and drawing every piece of detail you can see. It's sometimes it's hinting there's something there, but actually don't actually draw it. So you can do it with a shadow or just like a little mark, and then eventually it'll look like it's all one object. Let's do this bit. Right, that's that. It's all these little fiddly bits that take all the time. So I'm going to do all these in time lapse, I think. So I'll be back in a little while. Right, I think that looks pretty good. Just add a little bit of highlights to it. Trying to tidy up as I go, so I'm not having to come back to a lot of these bits. I think it's not too bad, that area there. I think that yeah, I think I'm going to take a very short break now, making myself a nice cup of tea. Back in a minute. Always nice to have a cup of tea, isn't it? Yeah, a bit dry. I should have had one before I started, really, but it didn't happen. I just get carried away with what I'm doing. I thought I'd make myself a cup of tea, so I've had one now. So right, where was I? Oh, that's right, I was doing this bit when I. Okay, right. I think that looks all right. I think that looks pretty good. That looks fine. That looks fine. Let's do these two as well while I'm at it, and then I'll move on to this bit, I think, because I did the side, but the top needs some work. So let's do some of that. I'll do this without going to time lapse because it doesn't take too long, and then I'll do time lapse for the other bits. So we'll do that. Let's do the where we go now. Zoom. What colour did I want for that? Oh, that's the one. I really want to add that one now. That's quite a nice one. So I'm not going to take them to. That'll do. I'm not going to take it down too much because these are actually on the top. So I'm just basically adding, like I do with a lot of the other stuff, just a little bit of texture to it, just so that it's got a bit of oomph when you look at it rather than just being flat colour. So there you go. Just take it down a little bit. That's all it needs. And I'll do the same to this one. Let's do that one as well, and I'll delete this bit here. This should actually, I think this goes down. I can't really see on the reference photos, but I think this actually, you can just about see the background behind it. So what I'll do is I'll fill it in, because I'm not quite sure whether those actually need to be see-through or not. I know that comes down like that, so looking at the reference photos, it's like a little tag, but it's, yeah, I think what they are, yeah, I've got a fix to do to them. I've done it like that purely because I think when I did the book, I just did it straight down like that because it was easy to do for the colouring. But for this, I'm going to just modify them slightly. I'll do that now. Let's do that now while I look at it. Here we go. Lost my bearings then. Alright, let's do this. It goes like that. Let's get me colour. What size brush do I want? That's a bit too big, that one. That might do. It's about, yeah, that looks alright. And we'll remove that bit there. I think that's how they are. So it's kind of a tag that sits proud of the thing. I think that's let's do this one. Same kind of setup. Yeah, that looks alright, and I'll just take that down just a touch there. Just bring that in a little bit, and then I can raise that bit. We can erase that bit. That can go straight across. That can go straight across. Don't like that lined up like that. That's a little bit too. I don't like it when you get lines that line up too much like that. It looks a bit false. It isn't obviously, but it's. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Just go over so that you've got a little bit more of an edge there, just so it doesn't line up fully. I'm going to do is to get that more of a crisper line. You can go down with your select tool, and you can delete it using the select tool rather than trying to do it with the eraser on the brush. Get a much cleaner deletion then. You get a nice cleaner line. It just gets that little bit of an angle. Yeah, that looks better. So got that in there, and I'll do the same with this bit because that line's a little bit too wild as it gets to the end. So get that there. There we go. And yeah, the fatness is all right there. It goes thin and fat, that's fine. I don't want it to be too sort of strict. Okay, so that looks a bit better now, and these will, I can then select, go to my base colour, let's select that colour. I can go in there like that. That one can go on there. There we go. That's it, and I'll do the same to this. I'll just delete these bits here. So We can erase the base colour. That's the case. Is that one? Yeah, that's on there. So I don't know what base colour is. I think. Oh, that's a. Let's merge them together because we don't need them two separate. Right, that's that there. Okay. So that's now erased. Just make sure I have erased it because I do not want any artifacting when I put it into my designer file, and we end up with like a strange drop shadow effect coming off over here. Right, so that's that one. These ones are probably similar, but you won't see it. I'm not going to do that one. Just going to leave it as is, so it looks fine. And I think that looks alright. So let's just shade up the outside. I'll get rid of this bit in the middle. So we'll erase that while I'm on the base fill. And I'll also have to do the shading layer as well, because yeah, I've done it on highlight. See the old sod, done it on the highlighting layer, but it doesn't really matter because it'll be merged later anyway, so I'm not really bothered. Do the same to that one and do the delete fill. Now what I need to do is go back to this fill layer and put this in here, just so it's continuity. And I'm not gonna do too much in there because that would actually not be that colour. So I'm gonna fade it off to this colour. I'm gonna just fill it. It's a bit darker. Actually, look at it. That would be that thick, wouldn't it? So there we go. What a waste of time that was. My brain. See, that's what happens when you get distracted and you think, right, what was I doing? Multitasking doesn't work with me. I'm trying to, but it ain't working with, is it? So anyway, that's that. Let's get this shading in here. Take that right down. I'll select this one as well. Get that in there. Okay. Let's select what colour should we have? I think let's go for one of these. So it doesn't have to be the same all the way through. Just make your mind up what you want and just go for it. Here we go. Bring that in now. I'm going to crank it up a little bit. It's going to be quite dark there. And then I'll do the other trick of erasing the edge so that we get a little bit of a better edge on that. Yeah, that looks alright. Like I've done there. So I'm going to take that colour, bring that onto there, bring that up. Bring that up, and then what I'll do is I'll go back with this one and I'll just erase the edge using just a moderate brush size like that, just so we've got a little bit of an edge on there. And what I'll do is in here I'm going to take that colour and just bring it in so that that's in there. So we've got like, I mean really that would be go there. You would probably just see the corner of that bit there, so I'm not worried. I'm just going to leave it as just quite dark. It's a minor detail, and that looks fine. I'll do the same with this one like that. Just leave it. So okay, right, now then I'm going to do a little highlight on these edges here. So because I filled this in the wrong layer, I'm going to have to delete it on here. So we'll go on there, crank that up a little bit, just put a little bit on there. I'm doing this so that I can put the highlight colour back on without it merging with the other one. So I'll go into that, select that one, and then go white, just so it picks up that edge a little bit. Not that much though. Picks that edge up a little bit, and then that's good to go. There we go. Right, and just to get that edge there, just a little touch there, and a little bit there, just to because it kind of works, I think, for me doing that. And I'll do the same with this one here. Just bring that along. Bring that along. That one there. Just a little touch there. There's a little bit there, but I'm gonna let's go back to there, erase a little bit of this one. Right, okay. Right, okay, that looks alright. Okay, now then, where are we now? Let's Okay, that's that. Right, now I've done the top of this other one. Now looking at the reference photo I've actually got on this, I'm gonna fill it in so that it's similar sort of style to the bit on the other side. So it'll be over similar to what I've done here and here. It'll be the same kind of thing. It's a little slightly different colour. It's not quite the blue. It's more of a silvery colour. And again, I've what I said before, I've used this fill colour mainly as a foundation to build the shading on top of. So although it's this colour, I'm going to be shading it in quite a lighter set of shades rather than having it this and then building it down. I'm building it up. So if I pick that, and then I can go in here and go, right, well I want something that's going to be a bit more brighter like that, and then I can go over it with the big old brush there. And I must remember not to have the label bit selected, because I don't want the label, and I'm not going to select this edge that's coming out here, these little lips, because I want them to be separate. I don't want them shaded with what I'm doing now. And that big droopy bit, where is it? This bit here, I'm going to add a little bit of highlighting on the edges here. That's where the cables come in. I haven't drawn the cables on this one because I thought it'd be a bit too complicated for the colouring book when I originally done it. I thought there's a lot of fiddly little lines and that, and I thought that might be a little bit too intricate for the book, so I left them out. But I could have put them in, but then you wouldn't have seen all this lot, because when you look at the cables, they come out of here and they go all over the place, and it goes out there and it goes into here, so you would have seen none of this, and you wouldn't have seen any of this, because the cables then go. There's another connector here which I didn't put in purely because the cable's not there. So I wanted to keep it fairly clean looking, so you get to see the circuitry. Artistic license, I suppose. It's it doesn't have to be spot on. It's not like a technical drawing as such. So, but I mean, as a result of that, I left this little bit in, which is where the cables would have come out of the power supply. So never mind. Right, we're going to put that back on. Right, let's remove this from the selection. With Critter, if you hold down the Alt key, you can remove areas from a selection. So, for instance, I don't want this area being selected. I want it to be, because I'm going to colour it in a different colour. So, and I want to add that. I want just to add that line back in. I went a little bit over the line there when I deselected. So, yeah, that works. Doesn't matter if it's not precise. It's fine. So anyway, I'm going to do the first bit, and then I'm going to switch into time-lapse mode, which is just basically saying change speed of video in the editor. So, good old Caden Live, love it. If you want a good video editor, and you don't really want to pay like for a subscription service with like Premiere, or you just want it for sort of just, I would say, simple video, but it's got quite a lot of advanced features. Caden Live, it just works. It just does the job. And I did use Shotcut for a little while. I tried that out. Now it was all right. It was okay. And then I think they did a few updates to it, and I don't know, something went wrong. They took something off of it. I can't remember what it was. But in the end, I thought, it didn't. It was a bit. I don't know. Something happened with it, and I wasn't quite pleased with what I was doing. It kept crashing on my machine. I don't know why, because the previous versions seemed to run okay. And then I'd used Caden Live a few years ago, just when I was trying out different video editors, and I really liked it. This is when I was using Linux daily, and which I will be going back to Linux at some point. When I get my next computer, I'm going to be probably doing Linux. I'll have a Linux and a Windows machine running side by side. But I did use it on that, and it was great. And I thought, no, I'll go back to Caden Live, because I haven't used it for a couple of years, and more than that actually. And I was really impressed with it. I thought, this is amazing. It's really come on leaps and bounds. It was great. It was a good bit of software before, but seeing it now, it was like, wow. And it just keeps getting updated all the time. So I thought, right, okay, we'll give that a go. And this is what I use for all my videos. I mean, the first ones I did in the series, I think I did use Shotcut originally when I did the first. I think it was the first one I did. First one or two in this series were done on that, and it just was giving me problems. It was just, it kept buffering. I don't know what it was doing, because my machine's not really a slouch. It's got, it's still got plenty of go in it for its age. And I thought, what's it doing? It's not really doing anything. It's just like, you know, a couple of tracks and maybe a narration track and a little bit of music. So it's like 4 tracks I had going, and it just kept, I don't know, it was really strange. So I thought I'd ditch that, and that's when I made the switch to Kden Live, which is worked perfectly, really. Now you can see what I've done. I've chosen like a blue, and I'm not keeping that colour. I'm just using it because I'm going to come over it with a slightly different shade afterwards, and then I'm going to erase it. It doesn't. It's not really. Sometimes it's not the colours you see all the time. It's sometimes the colours you don't see where it mixes them, and you get like a kind of a little bit of a mixture at pixel level. And yeah, I might be talking rubbish, you know. It's just that little bit of a hint of another colour on it. If I zoom out, I mean, I don't know if the video will pick it up, because I noticed when I watch these back, there's sometimes the colours don't look quite the same. It must be the codec that's being in use. I'll have to check out different codecs to which ones are being used. But yeah, it's not quite the same. But it's just so that I've got a little bit of a sheen going on there. So I've got that there, and there we go. But anyway, I'm going to switch to time-lapse for the rest of this, because I'm rambling on, and I don't want to do another 1 hour and 53 or whatever it was video like I did last time, where I'm then fighting to get the editing down. So we're back in a few minutes or seconds or whatever it is, and I'll resume the chat then. Right, so I've got a bit carried away adding some details to some of these bits. I've added a little bit there, as you've seen, just to grab it up. I've grabbed the PSU up a little bit. I did debate whether to put some proper detail in, but to be honest, you start doing that, then anything else where you've got scribbles stands out. So I've kind of kept it quite loose, just to keep fitting with the rest of the you know, like with the chips, I've done scribbles on there to kind of signify text, and the same here. It sort of hints that there's something there, kind of representative of the original, but not like an exact replica. I think this is like a date grid which tells you what date it was manufactured, and a few other little bits of information. I've kind of scribbled it in there. A couple of stains on the top, a couple of little grubby marks. Again, not too busy, just enough to hint that it's a bit worn. I'll probably come back and do a few more bits on here. There's a few little stains and marks in here, just so it ages it a little bit. But I'm not going to go too far into that. I'm going to put a little shadow underneath here, and then that's a bit done. And I think I'll be happy with that to say that's done now, until I, unless I come back to it at the end and decide to add some more detail to it. So I'm going to put that on now. We're going to go to time lapse for that, and I'll be back in a minute for the rest of it. There's one little trick I use when I want to kind of do like an edge highlight, but I want it to go all the way down, but I don't want it to fade off. And just use the straight line tool. You can start by going a little bit further over, and then bring it off into the black. So you kind of get, if I do it straight down parallel with the actual black line, you get too much of a thick line. But if you go over a little bit, you can start off with the top being quite bright, and then the rest of it just fades off, and that kind of, it's quite a nice way of just shading the edges without actually having to worry about drawing it down, and you get that kind of nice sort of gradient. And I can do the same with these ones, but I won't on this one because it's quite bright already, so you won't really get a lot of it, and it just kind of finishes that edge off then. I'm not sure if I'm going to add any more grub to this. There's a few marks I've added, a few little dabs and bits here, but there's a tendency to get too carried away, which I mean, if I'm honest, I'd rather leave it as it is, because if I do start doing it, and I'd want to grub up the rest of it and have lots of, like, dust and marks on here, and then before I know it, I've created an image which doesn't sit in with the rest of the illustrations that I've done for the book. So sometimes it's kind of a battle going on, like, oh, shall I add a bit more dirt and a bit more grime? You think, no, leave it. I'm probably going to come back and add a little bit of grime to the tops of these, and the same here, and the same with this one, but I'm not going to go silly. I mean, this one, I've kind of gone a little bit more than I was planning to, but it just felt like it needed it, like the label needed it, and I've got to do a little bit more to this label here. I'm going to do a little bit of grub on there. But for the most part, I think it looks pretty okay. It's not bad. It's getting there, and I'll do this one, a little bit of a grub on it, which I'm going to be tackling next. Right, I'm going to colour this in a little bit of a different colour than it is already, because I'm looking at my reference photos, and although I've done it in this blue, which is what I use for the floppy drives and the PSU, this has actually got more of a sort of a shinier surface, so it's more of I mean, obviously the photos I've got here are quite aged, so but I'm gonna colour it in a more of a, say yellow, but it's more of this kind of colour really. So I'm gonna just select that, and then we can I can do some magic. Okay, what colour do I want? I think I'll have let's see. I don't know, let's go for this one. Let's go for that sort of colour. And I can ramp that up a little bit. That's a bit. I want it to be sort of, I mean, I don't want to do it white, or I don't want to do it just pure grey. I'm going to just do it slightly tinted, so it's slightly tinted yellow. I want it to look a little bit dirty, but not enough to make it look like it's been sitting in a junkyard for like 20 years or 30 years. Let's go for something like that. I mean, it's one of these things where you do it and you think, oh, actually, I'll go the other way, but fill it with that one and see how we get on. Yeah, that's all right. That looks all right. So also it gives you a nice bit of contrast between all these other ones, and I can play around with that. That's not a bad colour, right? So let's hide that. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to I've got this whole area selected, so what I want to do is I want to just do my usual trick of brushing it. So just make sure, right, I've got that there. So I'm going to leave this selected so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to deselect this area here. So I'm just going to use, I'm holding down the Alt key, which is telling the critter that I want to deselect, and just going to go up here, try and keep it within the black lines, and there we go. Right, right. Okay, so I've got that selected now, and I'm going to just put a little bit. I'm just going to. If you use the Shift key, you can actually, I'm just doing this so that if there's any overlap, I can then blend them off afterwards, because these edges are folded. So I'm just doing it so that I can then blend them later. I'll do it for these ones and these ones. So it just makes it a little bit easier when I'm trying to come back afterwards, because I know what will happen is I'll do over here and I'll do some nice sort of gradients on it, and these will be really sort of solid edges. So I don't really want that. And I mean, you know, it just means you don't have to go up afterwards and start tidying them up, because I'll just blur them into these colours afterwards I've shaded them up. So let's do that, and that one there. Right, okay. Yeah, that looks alright. I've done them all. This one now. I don't have to do these ones here because these are actually underneath, so these will actually all be in shadow. These won't. These will actually have a little bit of a kind of highlighted edge that fades down. Right, so let's hide that so it doesn't put me off. Let's go to my shade layer. Let's go back to my old faithful brush, which is this one, and let's crank it up a bit. Take the opacity down. Let's do it to 10, and I'm going to pick a grubby colour like that. Yeah, that's not bad. And as before, I'm going to do some of it in sort of, you know, grubbiness, and I'm going to go back to the highlight layer and add a few little highlights to it, similar to what I've just done with this, same kind of thing. But what I've noticed on here is there's lots of little. It's weird because you see this kind of like, it's not even corrosion, it's just where the metal's kind of aged and there's like probably stuff's been on it and it's just gone dark. So all these little dots, there's lots of little bits that just work around it. So a bit strange, but there we go. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there. I'm not going to go too mad with this. I'm just adding that texture that I've used everywhere else. Just going to go in and let's make that a bit bigger, and I'm just going to erase it gently like that, and there we go, and go back to that one. It's going quite dark, but that's not a problem because I just want it to give that texture, building up those layers. Because if I zoom in, you'll see what it's done. It's kind of had this mottled effect, which is what I want. And I can just take that off there and just, that's it, like that. So as I said, not a lot of sort of shading on that. And as you can see on these bits, they've gone down, but I'm going to smooth those off afterwards, so they're going to just blend in. Right, let's go to my highlight layer now, and I'm going to pick a white, but I'm not going to go white. I'm going to go to a slightly yellowy colour. Let's go to that one. I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. I'll take my brush size down this time a little bit, because I don't want these bits up here. It's just this edge and this bit here I'm going to be highlighting. It doesn't have to be dramatic, because it's just kind of a subtle hint that it's you know, you got that little bit of perspective, and it's what it does, it reinforces the angles. So if this area here is a little bit darker than this area is a bit lighter, it gives you that kind of impression that it's you know, it's in the 3 dimensions, even though the lines suggest that. It just reinforces it. So what I'll do is I'll just go up here, and you probably won't see a lot of different strokes. If I zoom out and I do it, you'll see what I mean. You know, I'm going to take that up a little bit. There you go. So what you're getting, you get a little bit of edge, and what I'll do, go around the edges, a little bit on the edge there, a little bit there, and it just brings it up. And you can see on that edge, it's done it now. So I've gone through, and I'm going to just erase the bits I've just done again, and it's just subtle. Now it doesn't look too much at the moment, but when I start adding a few little bits of grub on it and a few little bits here and there, it will change. I mean, similar to what I did on this one, you know, it's the same kind of thing. I'm just just adding little bits in here, and then when I come in to do the other areas around the bottom, that'll lift it up. I mean, these will all be dark, these are all dark, and you'll get a little bit of reflection of the green on it. I'm going to try and do the reflection, so you get a little bit of a hint that it's picking up this green and the components. So I just wanted to get this bit established, and then I'll go back and do the rest. But I'm going to do that. See now, hang on, see it's I took that colour up. So if I take the highlight off, you'll see that it will go back to being dark. So there we go. Right. So that's that. Now I'm going to do the grubby bits after, because I want to get the base colour just as I want it on all of it, and I don't want that. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these where is it there? I'm going to take these black edges off, because I don't want them on there now. Because I don't want these bits on, so I'm going to take them off, because these actually bend over. They're kind of bent over on the actual drawing. So yeah. So anyway, let's erase that. Take that down, and it goes just like that. And what I'm doing is I'm reinforcing these lines, because they're actually showing that they're bent. So I'll come around like that, and it'll go. There you go. And again, I will put the shading on there so that it looks like it's picking up the light, and that just reinforces these tabs. Not there though. Right, I'll come back and I'll come back in a little while. I'm going to do all the rest of this in time lapse, and I'll do some shading, and I'll be back in a few minutes, because there's not really much I can say, so it's more just showing you the process. So I'll be back in a few minutes or seconds or whatever it may be. Right, so as you see, I've just done a little bit of a bodge there. It's a bodge. It's a bodge. It's just a kind of a trick, just to kind of make it look like it's a bit shiny. It's not quite there. It looks all right. It needs a little bit more work, but it'll all come together once I get the other sides on. So I'll work on the next bit, which will be here. I'll do exactly the same thing there, and then once I've got these bits done, when I do the top, that should just bring it all together, and then I can go back afterwards and add a few little details. So I'll come back in a minute, and that should be finished. That looks okay. I'm not finished with either of these yet. These are just a foundation and then I'll come back and I'll do a bit more on them, and mainly because I want the fade out to be a little bit less dramatic. So I'm going to take these off a little bit, but I want to get the top bit done now, which is, needs a bit of grubbiness, not too much, just a little bit, and I'll give it a bit more shading, and that should sort of fit in with this one quite nicely then. So I'm going to go back over this now, and I'm going to just make it so this looks like this is part of this rather than just some blob sitting on the top. I mean, these bits come down and then they fold out slightly. In the original drawing I didn't do that, I just did them straight down. So when you do these, you kind of make a decision. Do I keep it like a technical drawing, or do I make it like a, you know, something that people can colour in? I thought, well, I won't go too far into the detail, but because I'm doing this now, I'm thinking, well, I'll do it sort of because I can edit that myself and then do it, colour it in. So it's why I've changed all this now. Okay, right, let's get this top done. I don't want, hello, what's he doing the hand for? Stop that. It's weird, isn't it? Stop it. No, there we go, that's better. Very strange, very strange. So let's get this top bit done, and we can start moving on to the other bit. Now what I want to do here, I'm going to cut across here with the selection so I can get that nice hard edge on there. And when I come to do the shading, I mean, it will be darker this bit anyway, but I'm doing that so because I'm going to darken it down manually, and I can just cut across here. I'm not too worried about it being, you know, exactly parallel with the rest of it, because these bits are quite loose. I think as long as the main construction lines of the objects, you know, sort of fit into perspective, then I think I can probably get away with it. I don't really want to. And I could just do that, and then you know, but then I don't think these. I don't know. I was better than I thought I was. I can do that, and I can deselect them afterwards, but we'll see. Right, that's that one. Let's deselect these areas now. Up, down. That's it. Right. So we'll get this done, and then I think it'll be moving on to the ribbon cable. If I can try and get all the internal bits of the Amiga done. Which is that bit there, and I think there's just a few little bits around here. I'm going to try like little shadows and things, but I think most of it's pretty much there. I think what have we got? Yeah, I mean, you look at that looks all right. A few little bits of grub around here I might put in, a few little marks on the case, but looking at it, I think we're pretty much close to having this done, this bit, and a few little tidy ups on here, because I mean, it don't look too bad, does it? I mean, it's, you know, a bit of a reflection going on it, but I think I just want to fade this off a little bit more, because there's quite an abrupt end to that green. Fade it off a little bit more, and maybe, you know, maybe just do a little bit more on here, a little bit more highlighting, and I think this whole area will be finished then. Maybe put a little bit more lighting on here, a little bit more, you know, shading on there, bit on here, just a few little tidy ups, you know, and then they're done. And then all I've got to do then is move on to this bit, and then I'll work out whether I'm going to put something on the monitor or not. I'm kind of debating whether to do the monitor with a screen or just leave it as that, because it's not actually plugged in. This is all unplugged, and I don't know whether it would need the display. I am actually considering doing another Amiga illustration with the screen like facing you, and then I can do something on it. I don't know yet. It was just an idea that came to me this morning. I thought, oh, maybe I could do one, and then have, like, you know, put some like screens on it or whatever. But we'll see. You know, it all takes time, and when there's a zillion other things that need to be done, it's a case of getting the priorities right of what you want to be working on. So right, on this bit, I want to go for a bit of a kind of I'm going to go for a little bit of a warmer shade. I just want it to be a little bit warmer. I want a bit of dirt on it, but I want it to be a bit warmer, just so it's taking it out. And I've already done this bit, but I'm trying to set the foundation for when it's actually got the grub on it. Now you can see it's just taking that down, and what's doing, it's merging with the colour that I've already put on there. It's quite subtle. It's probably a bit too subtle actually, and then you kind of get that little bit of a thing going on there. And then what we do, bring it down like that, shrink the brush down a little bit, because this is a little bit shiny. It's not a lot, but just enough, just it's a little bit of a shine on it. So I just want to make it look like it's, you know, just catching the light, and then the edges are not quite shiny enough to sparkle, but it's there. Can you kind of see what I'm doing? It's just bringing it up, and then I'll have a highlight here, a little bit of highlight there, and then I can put another dark bit just on this edge, and it just makes it look a little bit like it's reflecting some of the light, but not too much. You know, it is grubby after all, and it's been in there for donkey's years, and I don't really want it to be, you know, spanking new. But likewise, I'm contradicting myself. Likewise, I don't want it to look like it's been stuck in an old shed for like 30 years, and it's, you know, it's the spiders have had multiple families living in it, and before you know it, you know, there's all rust and all sorts of things. So I don't want it to look like that, but I want it to look like it's aged. So that's what that's doing. It's just adding that little bit to it. There we go. So I'm going to go to time lapse for the next bit, because I'm looking at the video length and I don't really want to do another 153 job. So I'll be back in a minute. And I just realised when I say back in a minute, it is literally normally about 30 seconds to a minute, my time lapse, because I can adjust it for the time I want. So I mean, I did do one the other day when I was editing, and it was like some crazy amount. It just looked silly. It was like one big blur, and I thought, no, that's a bit too much. But anyway, I'll be back in a minute, and you'll see what it looks like. Right, I think we're nearly done with that. It's not too bad. I think I might just take this down a little bit, the colouring on this. I'm going to do it on the base level. It's a little bit too like this. I want it to a little bit not blue, but more bluey than it is already. So I'm going to take a. Going to pick. Yeah, let's go for a medium grey. Let's go for one of these ones. That will do. Right, so I'm just going to go on here, and I'm not going to go too mad. In fact, I'm not even going to select it like properly. I'm going to try and, well, I say properly, I'm going to select it properly, but you know, I'm not going to be too worried about precision on the selection. And I wonder if I can probably, yeah, actually turn that off. I should be able to select my colour on here. I don't think I've got any other ones selected with that one. Yeah. Alright, okay, let's do that. Shade light. Okay. So I'm going to just go on here with the brush and just go over it with the blue tint. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm after. Not a lot, but just enough to give it a little bit of a slightly different colour. It's a little bit too, what is that, yellowy beige colour? Hey, beige. Colouring book with beige pencils, hey. Just so it's not quite as yellow, because it's a little bit too close to this one. I didn't want that. I need a bit of contrast with the colouring. Don't want to take it down too much, but just enough to kind of set it up. Yeah, that's better. So I want it. What I want is I want it so that it's. I mean, it's quite close to here, so I want it so it's picking up a bit of this, but then this bit is open, so it's not. So it's kind of like doing it, but it's not quite. It's not quite there. Yeah, you can see that on. If I take that layer off, you can see what I mean. So it's kind of doing what I want it to do. Yeah, I think that'll work. Right. Okay. So that's not looking too bad. I'm going to take these down a little bit though. I think these are a little bit too light. I think they need to come down a little bit, and we can do that on the shading layer. Okay, I think we're good to go on that one. Right, let's tackle the ribbon cable. Now with the ribbon cable, it should really be a fairly quick one. So because although it looks like there's a lot of bits to colour in, it's more of a case of just, I don't know, just bodging it really. Just bodging it. You'll see. Yeah, so not a lot really to do on here. Bit of shading here, bit of shading there, dab of highlight, and a job done. So I'm going to switch to time lapse because I don't want this video going on for mega minutes and mega hours and days and weeks, months, years, and before we know it, it'll be Christmas. Anyway, right, let's go. Right, I think that's not too bad. I might add a little bit more to it, just to, when I come back. I might come back to it. I don't know. I mean, the ribbon cable I've got in there in the picture is a bit grey, so I've kind of kept it that grey. But I think maybe I've gone a little bit too yellow with it, so I might come back and let's have a look. I might come back and change that actually. Let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look at that. Highlight. Yeah. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I will change that colour. So if I do that and I do that, and I go to, I don't really want to go blue, but make it a little bit more of a neutral grey, sort of like that, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, half the battle with this is trying to get the colours to, I mean, I've got an idea in my head what I want, but see, that's not too bad. I mean, I could do a full job on it and do that, and then that might be a little bit too much. But I think that one's not too bad because it's got a little bit of the yellowing on it, but it's tinted it. So I think that might do. Could go up a little shade. Bring it up a little bit. That's too much. Let's bring that down. Let's do 30%. See what that does. Yeah, that's not bad. You know what, I'm going to put a little bit more no, I think I'll stick with that. That looks alright to me. I think that'll do. I mean, you can go and add lots of texture to this and lines, but I didn't want to do that because the thing is, once you start putting like full lines in there, you've got to carry each one round, and this style doesn't have that amount of detail. It's hinting at this detail, but it doesn't show you that amount of detail. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just hinting that there's like lines there. But, I mean, if I was doing like an ink one, you know, I would just go all out and have every line would be dead correct. It'd be like there, and it'd be followed, every contour would be correct, and it'd be all the way around, and you know, I would do that and have all this in. But on this style, I'm not doing that, so I'll leave it as it is. That looks all right. I'm happy with that one. As I said, you know, the rest of the stuff, it's not. I was picking my nail, which is really scummy, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, with this, you know, with this stuff, like I said before, when you have something that stands out like a sore thumb, then it ruins the rest of the illustration. But I mean, it just merges into the background. That's job done. So, right, next bit I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to start doing the. Let's do this bit. Let's do this little cover, and I'm going to make a quick cup of tea. Is there ever such a quick cup of tea? I'm going to make a cup of tea as quickly as I can, and I'll be back in a minute, which you won't know about because it will just cut. Right, that's it. I actually went for a cup of coffee in the end. So, yeah, I mean, let's live some, eh? Let's live a little. So, right. The first thing to do is to select this. Right, I think we're good to go on that. There's a little bit of a secondary shadow I'm going to put on the edge here, but I think generally that's not too bad. Yeah, I think that'll do. I'm just going to just put a little bit on here because it's just little things that you see and you think, I just want to put that in, and just go in there like that. I think that might be a little bit too. What's that? Yeah, that might work there. So if I put that in there, that's it. Just a very small. I mean, this is probably not even worth doing, to be honest. But bring that up just a little bit, because when you get these mouldings, you do get a slight. You don't really notice it, but it's just there, and it's just one of them things that when you look at stuff, it's you kind of see it when you see it, you see it, if you know what I mean. And it's just that kind of little thing that you kind of pick up on when you start drawing stuff. You kind of see things that you don't normally see when you analyze objects, and you just see things. You kind of realise that there's a lot of hidden details that your eye kind of almost blanks out. You know, it doesn't always see it, but when you start drawing stuff, you kind of pick up on a lot of that sort of thing. You know, like that little bit of a highlight on the edge there, which, yeah, what it does, it just kind of reinforces the shading, if that makes any sense. It's just brings it up slightly, and you get it kind of makes it a bit more solid looking. So I mean, I've got black lines, everything. It's like, you know, it's kind of, I mean, if I was doing it without all the black lines, then it would be a bit more towards adding all these details in, but I'm just hinting at the detail rather than actually going through the whole thing. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That's not too bad. I mean, it's going to be in shadow anyway, so I'm going to take a little bit of that shading off, just a slight bit in the middle. I don't really want to, Yeah, it's a little bit too much, but that's fine. So I'm going to just do that. There we go. Let's just so I get a little bit of that off. So it just brings it up slightly. There you go. And there. That's it. And I'm going to do the same up here. Just knock that off a little bit. There we go. Okay, right. So I'm quite happy with that now, and I think we're good. I mean, you can get carried away with this sort of stuff. You can put lines in, and you know, I mean, what have I got? I mean, I could go in and put in a more dramatic line, but I mean, sometimes you can sit around and play around for hours, like hours, but you kind of play around for a lot longer than you should doing this, and you think, oh yeah, maybe I should just left it. But if you don't try it, you don't know, do you? You know, you just don't. No, I don't like that. I'm just going to leave that as it was. So, prime example, should have left it. Right, that's fine. Right, front panel, I think we can say that's done. That looks all right to me. Okay, right, let's get this front panel done. And first thing to do, select that colour. Let's go to my shade layer. Hide that. Brush. Let's go for 10%. Make it nice and big. What colour do I want? First of all, let's choose a colour I wanted. Go for that one. I think that looks quite nice. Yeah, that'll do. Maybe make it a little bit more orange. Ooh. Bit warmer. A little bit like that. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, well, we've got that selected. Make sure I've still got my selection. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and let's make the brush nice and big. There we go. That's what I want. You know me by now. This is the my tried and tested method. So I'll be back in a little while with all this shaded up. Right, I'm just doing a little. It's a little bit fiddly, all this, because there's so many little nooks and crannies to go in and shade, and I think it's probably easier if I carry on with time lapse for this, because it's quite arduous going through all this lot. So I'll be back in a minute with all this front bit done, and then I'll go back and do some narration with the. Right, I've noticed on this bit here that I've left this initially to be coded in as black but when you actually look at reference photos, this is the case molding here, all this bit, but all this bit, but here there is a hint of the drive mechanism metal just showing through, which I've left out on the original illustration purely because it was it was just filled in black, and it was probably quite thin. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add that in now for this. So I'm going to do, just looking at my lines, and then I'm going to put in just a little hint of the mechanism, which is like that kind of bluey colour that we've got up here. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll be back shortly. Let's tackle this little bit here, which is the 256k RAM expansion. I remember having this when I got my 1000, because I remember when they first come out, it didn't they sell it without, and then they had to put it in because they realised it needed more memory or something. I don't know. It's a long time ago, but yeah, I know you couldn't really do much with it without this on the front, which it's a shame they didn't. I mean, it didn't come in more, but I suppose the cost of RAM back then was quite expensive. So, I mean, 256k was like mental, and then 512 was like insane. I remember when they bought the 1 meg Amigas come out, and it was like, wow, So, yeah, look at where we are now. We've got gigabytes of RAM. Crazy. Right, let's give this a little bit of a more realistic colour, because I did the blue just to differentiate it between all the other colours, but it's not really what the colour of it really is. It's more of a, what is it? I think it's more. It's like kind of neutral grey. I mean, it's quite shiny, so I think what I'll do is I'll use this colour, take it down a little bit, give it a little bit of a, yeah, that might work. And I'll lighten it up once I've finished. Right, whack that in there. Yeah, that'll work. And I think that's a bit shiny, that bit. So let's do that one. And I'm not sure I'm selecting anything else. I do try to keep the colours quite sort of separate from each other when I'm doing this, so even though there might be two blues, like, for instance, this and this, or I do try to change the RGB value slightly. So if I do want to go back like now and add like select by colour, I can select each region without having to mess around. I did have an issue a while ago on this one where I'd had a couple of bits on the circuit board which would somehow picked up, but they were easily removed, so it makes it a little bit easier. So we've got that one, so I'm going to pick that one up there, just tin that up just a touch. Yeah, that's alright, that's good. Alright, now we've done that, I can then select that, hide it, and then we can go in with just a little bit of texture on it, and I'll do the top afterwards. So I think you know the score by now, so back shortly. I've just added in a little bit of missing detail. I don't know why I've done that. I think I've obviously got a bit carried away with myself and forgot to put a couple of lines in. But so if you look at the original colouring book image, I'm sure it's still in there. So what a bodger, eh? What a bodger. Right, so I'm just going to do the last little bit on here. Not doing a lot of detail on this, just doing a label, which it's a little bit shiny. I think this one looks a bit grubby on this one, so but it's a little bit shiny. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a going over, and we should be good to go. Right, let's do that one colour there. Give it a little bit more of a blue tint, I think. Right, that's it. I think this illustration, can call it done. Just a little bit of a tidy up on the file now. Just get rid of some of these layers that I no longer need. The text layer, get rid of that. And I'll also get rid of some of these colour swatches that I've dabbled about the screen on different layers. Going to put them into a separate layer on their own, and just going to keep them switched off for now, but going to keep them for future use, just in case I want to come back to this or want to do another one, which I am actually contemplating doing. I'm actually thinking of doing another Amiga 1000 sort of face on with the actual Kickstart logo on the monitor. It's an idea I had, and a while ago I was going to put the Kickstart screen on here, and I thought, you know what, I don't really want to sort of spoil the look of it. I quite like that glare that I've got on the screen. I like the little bit of a reflection, and if I put the white on there with the logo, it's just going to take that away. And let's be honest, it's not even plugged in. so I thought I'll leave that idea for another day. Yeah, because then I can probably have an Amiga, the Amiga with a Kickstart screen or a Workbench screen or some other kind of iconic look, maybe the bouncing ball demo or something on there, which would be another illustration at a future date. So yeah, just get these finished up, and then I'm going to move on to the last thing, which is a last minute thing, because I was originally going to leave this as is, But I'm going to put the Amiga tick on the keyboard, and I'm going to do the Amiga tick on the the case, and then that is it. It's done. Next video I'm going to add an addendum, which will be just showing you the layout of the project file when I go to do Affinity Publisher, and then I'll show you that, and then it'll be ready to be, if you do want to support my work and buy a print, then that would be mostly appreciated. You don't have to, just enjoy watching me do it is enough for me, but if you do want to support the work I do, then fantastic. Really nice to see a few sales on that. And I mean, I'm going to get one of these myself in this studio, because the 1000 is a special machine for me. It's my first Amiga, and it's just brilliant. So anyway, I'm going to get on with this now, and I'll be back in a few sort of minutes when it's finished. And there's one last thing to do, and that's sign it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my work, please like and subscribe. It really helps. A print of this illustration is now available at my shop over at thedesigndroid.co.uk. And if you'd like to have a go at colouring one of these yourself, copies of the colouring book are also available too. All the aforementioned links are in the description below. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you again soon.